What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chaser podcast, and I'm your host, John. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about finding my feet, and I want to try and link it back to the first episode as much as I can, because this is all a journey for me. I'm going to share with you the kind of thoughts and reflections that I've had the last few days since starting this podcast and starting this journey. And I want to see how many things I can tie into to kind of apply it to life elsewhere. I'm going to let you know on the criticisms I've had about the podcast so far from people very close to me and myself. And really kind of delve deep into why I'm doing this, what it's going to be along the journey, and where I want this to go. So to get started, I want to look back at the first episode, kind of what I feel I went and done right and what I feel I could have improved on. But bottom line for me with the first episode is I'm happy I done it. And since recording that episode, like overall, just in general, I feel happier. I feel like I've taken a step in the right direction. And as somebody that's always chasing progress, that's incredibly important to me. So if any of you are on the fence, waiting to take that leap, honestly, as long as you thought it through and as long as it's a calculated risk, go for it. Because the changes that you can make, even before it pays off, just knowing that you're taking action towards a goal that you have or where you want to be in life or what you want to do in life, just knowing that you're doing something about it gives you that light at the end of the tunnel. And it really does make the difference. So I'm over the moon that I took that first step in putting out the podcast. Now, I didn't start designing things like a logo until I was in the middle of uploading the video. Like I said in the first episode, that a lot of this got to the point where I didn't know what else to do other than jump. So I jumped. And there are a lot of things that I've probably skipped over along the way. There's a lot of things that I could have put in a bit more time and maybe even a bit more effort into. But the reality is I don't have that much time to be sugarcoating everything. And realistically, I don't want to sugarcoat things. I want to keep this podcast clean in terms of language and the kind of core sentiment, because I want it to have the broadest reach possible. So if I sugarcoat what I say, I'm more than likely going to miss the mark. There is going to be a way that I have to learn to articulate myself and put my point across in the correct way. But that is life. All throughout life, you have to adapt how you approach each situation. You can't talk to every person the same. Not everybody's going to understand and communicate in the same way. So you need to be versatile. You need to be able to adapt. And it's a learning curve through life. So don't let that hold you back. And sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I'm not going to edit this out, by the way. I want to, like I said, I don't want the chop and change footage. For me, it's time consuming. I live a very busy life. I work, I've got a daughter, I'm always running around. So to put that extra work in, it's really just going to slow down the process, and it's putting up another barrier for myself. If I have the confidence to put out the material raw, I can save myself a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I can make things a lot more streamlined and a lot more efficient. And really and truly, that's more me. And this podcast is meant to be a reflection of me. This podcast is my way of sharing my perspective of life, the things that I've learned from either my own experiences or people I've been around and their experiences, and what I've learned from seeing others approach life. I think it's incredibly fascinating to see how different people approach different topics and different problems depending on their life experience. So to go on this journey and to kind of explore those avenues, to me, that's fascinating. What can I tie that back into? It doesn't matter. So to get back on track with the process of creating the podcast that I was talking about in episode 1, I done minimal editing to the video. I literally snipped off the front bit where I was hitting record and the back bit where I was stopping the record. Other than that, I done no editing. I'm using CapCut to edit the videos. If anybody's wondering, it's a free software. It's really easy to use. Again, I'm only using it for basic functions, so I can't talk about the complexities within the app itself. But for a novice, it is very user-friendly in that sense for myself. I mentioned before about the video sizes. If anyone was wondering, once I put it through CapCut and edited the segmented files into one, it actually reduced the file size to about 2.5 gigs for the 30-minute video. That's primarily because of the quality of the footage. So if I was to reduce it further to 720, I would probably save a little bit more on the file size, but it seemed fairly good uploading wise, and it come up with kind of YouTube's recommended and this and that, and because I'm again a novice and I'm not 100% sure on what I'm doing, it kind of set my mind at ease that it at least met the bar of what YouTube wanted. So I don't want to reduce it any further. I had no problems uploading a file of that size. It took me about an hour and a half with the internet that I'm dealing with at the minute. So I'm really happy with that. So in terms of the actual background workings of it, there really hasn't been much in terms of things being complicated or a lot of editing. And again, that's simply because the way that I'm processing, the way that I'm approaching each episode. So I'm trying to self-edit as I go. So obviously, everybody has their own speech pattern, and I'm trying to make mine as versatile as I can right now. Like I say, I don't want to contaminate this or for the podcast to not have exposure for a simple using certain words. There are always ways that I can go around that ain't going to limit my exposure, that ain't going to limit the audience that can view my podcast. So having that slowed down kind of speech sometimes and thinking of what I've got to say and kind of trying to edit my way around things, make sure I've not said anything that I'm going to have to edit out after. Like I say, I've got no one behind the camera. I'm literally sitting in a room completely on my own right now. Funnily enough, my daughter's just gone for a nap, so I'm making use of the time that I have. I was going to record this tonight when she went to sleep, but as she's gone for a nap now, I'm jumping at the opportunity because this has really, this has knocked me for 10. After doing the first episode, I didn't think it would have the impact that it has had on me. So straight away after recording that episode, once I was reviewing it back, I realized that there weren't much life in my voice. And I was trying to talk like it's a tutorial and this and that, and realistically that's not me. I'm trying to get comfortable on camera and it's hard to be myself. Like I say, that day I was recording very late at night, so I was trying to be a bit more quiet because of that. But at the same time, there's a certain level of energy and enthusiasm that I want to bring to this podcast, that I want to bring to you guys and that I want to put out in the world. And I missed that on episode 1, but it's fine. It's fine to miss that mark. I'll get back up, and this episode I've come in with better energy. Now, I want to keep that energy going forward in the next episodes and beyond. It may develop, it may grow over time, it may change, but that's me finding my groove. This isn't paint by numbers. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this. I have an intention and I know what I want to do, but I have no idea where it's going to lead. So all I can do is try. And hopefully you'll bear with me along that journey. In terms of kind of episode structure and that, I was talking to my friend about this yesterday, and the structure that I want is fairly free flowing. Like, I don't want to tie my hands too much. I don't want to be sitting here reading a script. I very much want to come in with a core concept each episode and talk about that topic as much as I can from as many aspects as I can. If I go on tangents and if I lose my train of thought, it's fine. You never know where one idea could domino into another, and that can lead into a whole avalanche of ideas. So I don't want to restrict myself in that sense. I want to keep it fairly broad, fairly topical. Like today's episode, Finding My Feet, is very much still about setting up the podcast, finding where I'm going, but this isn't the first time I've had to find my feet in life. Every time you take a first day at a job, a first day in a relationship, or a first day meeting somebody, or you always have these moments in life where you've essentially got to learn to walk again. You've got to learn to cope in a new environment, a new situation. And the more times you can do that, the more well-rounded you're going to become. So although trying something new can be daunting, it can also be incredibly rewarding. And what you can gain from it, more often than not, is going to far outweigh what you can lose. Like anything, it's going to come down to moderation. If you're constantly gambling, then the amount of times you're going to lose is more often than not going to be a lot higher. Whereas if you take a gamble, collect your thoughts, make a calculated gamble, and slowly build up, your rate of progression, although it may feel slower, the assurance behind it is far more certain, in my opinion. And that's how I've been approaching life. Like I said, I've been building this podcast for over a year or so now. And in one form or next, it's either been building the idea, building the confidence, building the savings to buy the equipment, decorating the space, having the space. These are all different variables and obstacles that you've got to overcome along the varying journeys in life. But going through this journey is going to teach me so much about myself, and then so much about life and the world once I start talking to other people. Even with the self-reflection, there is so much that thinking about these episodes and thinking about what I can talk about and what I can bring to you guys and what experiences have shaped my view in life and what people have shaped my view in life, that self-reflection is powerful. And as somebody that likes to think about life and contemplate the possibilities and the variables and the different angles that you can come at things from, to have a platform where I can sit down, talk to people about their experiences, what they've been through, what they've learned from what they've been through, what they've kind of taken from each situation. Because although people may have been in similar situations, they may not have learnt the same thing. They may have learnt polar opposite things. And that can be good or bad. But the information in itself is valuable. Because regardless, you're now more informed. You know how the outcomes of that situation can go or how it went for that person. So you can make a more calculated decision yourself. You can approach things with a little bit more confidence or a little bit more, what would be a good word for it? A little bit more insight than just taking a gamble on your own. So that kind of ties back to the core concept of this show, which is sharing the experience, sharing your own experiences. And there's going to be some experiences that I'm not going to want to share because they're just too close to my heart right now. And same with guests that come on, do you know what I mean? But that's fine. It doesn't mean there's not stuff that I can share or that guests can share. I don't want to be sitting here talking with necessarily people that have already made it, or if I am talking with people that have already made it, then I don't want to talk to them about everything that everyone else has talked about. If everybody's talking about this 90%, I want to talk about the 10%. Because the 10% to me is what's really going to matter and what's really going to make the difference. That little bit of information that gets overlooked, that's the uniqueness in somebody's life. That everybody goes to work, everybody kind of wakes up in the morning, does their routine, goes through the day, goes through the night, blah, 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 blah. But that unique 10% of their experience where they go cave diving, or they go backpacking around the world, or they're an extra on movies, they do modeling, they make music, that little something that they do outside of the norm is what draws you to them. And that's where they'll learn more than the normal, or learn from different perspectives than normal, or different basically see it from different aspects. And again, that's why to me this is so important and so fulfilling, because this is my way of paying it forward. Now, I'm at a point in my life where I've been through my share of stuff, in my opinion. And if I can articulate myself properly and I can encompass what I've learned through these experiences, whether they be good or bad, and share that with you, if you come across a similar situation, you're now more informed. Or if somebody that you know is going through a similar situation, you may be able to help them. Regardless, I feel this is a force for good, and I want it to be a force for good. And hopefully, with me being consistent and constantly building each episode up essentially as a building block, I will build something that will reach a lot of people and hopefully benefit a lot of people. Because it's when we can share our experiences and be a bit selfless and not share because it's going to benefit us, but share because it's going to benefit somebody else. Once we can do that as a community, as a society, as a world, as a species, the levels that we could get to would be unfathomable. The amount that people think life operates out of scarcity is shocking. There is no reason for one person to envy another, or for one person to be jealous of another, hate another person for what they have, or what they may be, or what they've got. That is an outward projection of your own emotions towards yourself. It's easier to push that hate onto somebody else than it is to say, I'm not living up to my potential, that's why I'm not there yet. And that's the easy road. The hard road is to say, I'm not enough yet. I need to do more. I need to start small, build this at a pebble at a time. There's no shame in starting small. To me, the only shame is never starting at all. This podcast started with an idea, and it snowballed from there. it's only because I kept pushing that snowball down the road that it's growing in size. And hopefully it continues to grow because I'm going to keep on pushing. And you need to do the same. No matter what your struggle in life, no matter what your position in life, as long as you keep consistent, you will get through. Everything is temporary. The good times, the bad times, it all goes away. So do not waste the opportunities that you have. If it takes a moment of self-reflection and a few hard words with yourself, by all means have those words. But do not step in your own way of being happy, of being fulfilled, of pursuing what you enjoy and what interests you. Do not stand in your own way. If I can give you one message from this episode, it is that do not stand in your own way. Regardless of what the obstacle is, you are the only one that can overcome it. You are the only one that is going to be with you 24/7. Whether you like it or not, the reins are in your hands. And once you grab them, it doesn't matter how hard you pull. It matters if you grab them. You can keep pulling and you can build up and you can build that strength. That's fine. But if you don't hold on, eventually you will fall off. You need to take the reins of your dreams. Nobody is going to make them for you. I was thinking to just end the podcast on that. But quite honestly, I still feel to talk to you guys. As weird as it feels, this is a great outlet for me. I live very much in a bubble at the minute because of how life is. So I don't get that much time to kind of express myself verbally outwards. It's more in a monologue. So releasing this in a monologue kind of, it really is a weight off my shoulders in that sense. It's an outlet that, like I say, I feel I'm doing some good, or I will do some good once I get into the meat of the episodes and once I've sat down here and kind of got off my chest what's waiting. I was up until 4 a.m. last night and I was going to record an episode last night, but I only uploaded yesterday. And again, it's that impatience and that everything has to be now. It doesn't. Like, I uploaded the first episode yesterday. I had a night off. I've done a night shift on Wednesday night. Had Thursday night off from dad duty. And I planned to record another episode, but life happened. I ended up seeing a friend after posting the first video. And it was great just sharing that vibe and the energy and just talking about what I'm pursuing and what he's pursuing and just talking about life in general. Like, it really did hit home. This is why I'm doing the podcast. This is why I wanted to do this. Not just to share my experiences, to improve others' lives and to improve my own, but to also build those connections, to that kind of camaraderie when you're pushing and the guy next to you look over and he's pushing his grind as well, and you look to the other side and your other mate's pushing his grind. That to me just makes me smile. Like, really from the heart smile, because everyone's on their mission. And that, having that mission, having that ambition, that is so inspiring. It gives you hope for not just yourself, but the world. Because it starts small. It starts with the ripples. But eventually, the ripples become waves. And the more ripples you can see being made around you, the more it feels like that wave is on the horizon. And that is an amazing feeling. And I think I'm going to end the episode on that. I want to leave you with one more seed of kind of inspiration or just something to think about until I post again, which hopefully will be soon. I'm going to approach this as a weekly thing, but at the same time, I want to build a base of content. There's a lot that I want to get off my chest. So I may do a quick fire few episodes and then slow down depending on my schedule. But I will be posting at least once a week. So look out for that. In terms of the seed, start small, guys. I really do mean it. Start small. Don't overstep or don't try to overreach the beginnings. I've just started kind of training, if you want to call it that again. And I've literally set myself a goal to do 2 sets of press-ups every single day. That's it. 2 sets of 15 press-ups every single day. And fitness fanatics, it doesn't matter what people say, whether it's healthy to do the same exercise every day, if I'm doing enough to make progress, this, that, and everything else. The fact that I'm building that habit, that's enough. Start small, guys. Don't be afraid to make the little moves consistently. You could lay an A4 piece of paper down in the same spot every day. You do it for long enough, you'll build a mountain. Do not be afraid of the small steps, guys, okay? Love to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Watch out for the next one.